Okay, so I'm including this again down on the bottom just as a reference. You're going to need to internalize this and don't expect to have it given to you on tests, but let's do it right now. Um, so what I'm going to do over here is I'm going to just mark what we know. We know for number 14 an angle, this angle right here, and then we know the hypotenuse, and we know the side that is opposite the angle that we know. So which one has opposite and hypotenuse? Opposite and hypotenuse is sine. So how do we write it? We write sine of 35 degrees, which is a number you can get out of your calculator by pushing sine 35, equals opposite x over hypotenuse 20. Okay? And rather than put in a number for sine of 35, what you really want to be doing is you want to just rewrite this equation to solve for x. And the way that we'll do it is multiply both sides by 20. So we can say 20 times sine 35 equals 20 times x over 20. And then what you'll see on the right-hand side is that 20 cancels out, that 20 leaving you just with x, right? So you got x equals 20 times sine 35. Okay, so what you should do now is you should turn on your graphing calculator, clear it out. First thing you should always do, once you set this, it should stay set this way, but before we do anything else, make sure that you're doing this or you'll always get the wrong number, okay? Next to, see that the blue second button up on the top? Right next to it, there's a button that says mode. If you push the mode button and you scroll down to, you'll see radians and degrees. What you want is to have the degrees word surrounded by black, meaning that's highlighted. So if it's not currently and radians is what's highlighted, you want to tab over one so that your cursor is blinking on degrees, and then you want to hit enter. And that'll make degrees be what the angle is given in. Okay? Once you've done that and you can see that degrees is blocked out in black, it's got a black background, then you can get out of there by hitting the blue second button and then the mode button again, and that'll quit you out of it. As you can see, quit written in blue above mode. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, you may not have your calculator in front of you. You should go back and you should start this over again with your calculator in front of you. But hit the second button, hit mode again, which will give you quit, which is above it, and then you'll get back to the screen, the original screen, okay? So what do you do now? Now you hit sine, which by the way, it is the fourth row down, second button from the left. Hit sine, it'll say sine parentheses, and what you want to enter is the number of degrees you're looking for the sine for. And you're looking for 35 degrees. So hit 35 and then close parentheses again. If you hit enter, you'll get a number that says 0.5735764,364. Don't round it off, leave it in there, and what you do next is hit times 20 because you want to multiply that by 20. That's what this problem is asking you to do. And then hit equals. Okay, and you will get the number 11.47152873. What you want to do here is you want to round to the nearest tenth. Okay, what is in the tenths place? Well, I'm going to write the number down right now, and I'm going to always put approximately equal to, the wavy equal sign, because it's not exactly equal to this, but I'm going to write 11.47152873, which is what your calculator should be showing right now. And then we're rounding off to the nearest tenth. So I'm going to say, what's in the tenths place? The 4 is in the tenths place. We look one further and determine, does it say 5 or higher than 5? If you can say yes to that, yes, it says 5 or higher, then the 4 needs to be increased up to 5. So 11.5 is approximately equal to x. Okay. The reason it's got to be 5 or higher is what you're saying is we have essentially if this is a 5 or more, then we've got more than half of another one of these tenths. So we've got to count it as another one more, because there's more than half of a tenth here in this string of numbers. Okay? So that's your answer. We have an answer of 11.5, approximately equal to x. Okay? Now, number 15, we're going to do the same thing again. And I won't talk you all the way through it like that. We'll go a little quicker. Now, for this one, what do we have? We have, and we'll mark them. We've got, for this angle, we've got the adjacent side now and the hypotenuse. And what does adjacent and hypotenuse use on the bottom? Adjacent and hypotenuse down here, it uses cosine to solve it when you know those pieces of information, or you know one and you're looking for the other. Okay, so since we've got that, we're going to use cosine. We're going to say the cosine of 41 degrees equals the adjacent side, x, over the hypotenuse of 11. And again, we're going to multiply both sides by 11 to cancel it out. And then let me do that. We'll say 11, we'll say 11 parentheses cosine 41 equals 11 parentheses x over 11. And what that'll give you then is 11 times cosine 41 equals x. And if you type that into your calculator, again, how do you do it? Clear everything out, hit the cosine button, you'll see the parentheses open, you'll type 41 and close the parentheses. Now at this stage you can also, this is assuming that you've closed the parentheses, you can do times 11 all in one step and then hit equals. So what that should look like written on your screen is COS open parentheses 4 1 close parentheses times 1 1. If you don't close the parentheses, then you're finding the cosine of whatever number you get when you do 41 times 11. It'll do that first, then find the cosine of that number, and that's not what you want. So if you do that, you get 8.301805, whatever, it doesn't matter, is approximately equal to x. It doesn't matter. Why do I say that? Because we're rounding to this place. We're rounding to the 10th place. And is there a 5 or higher in the hundredths place, the one right to the right of it? Nope, it's not 5 or higher. So the 3 doesn't change. The 3 stays. 8.3 is what x is approximately equal to. That's your answer. All right. One more. We're going to look over at this one and we're going to say, what do we got? What do we got? And I'll use these same original colors that I used again. And let's see. Let's use purple. Yeah. So what do we got? We've got an angle, and we've got, compared to this one, we've got the adjacent side and the opposite side. We don't use the hypotenuse at all in this. So which one uses opposite and adjacent? That's tangent. So we will write, just one second here. We will write tangent of the angle, tangent of 64 degrees equals opposite, the opposite sign is x, over adjacent, the adjacent side is 7. Okay. And what do we got to multiply both sides by? We got to multiply both sides by 7. So we'll say 7 parentheses tangent of 64 sorry, hold on a second. Didn't mean to do that for you. Okay. Tangent of 64 is equal to 7 times sorry, I'm working something out here. My apologies. Um, times x over 7. Okay? And of course that cancels out on the 7 cancels out. And what you get as a result here then is 7 times the tangent of 64 equals x. And of course we can calculate the tangent of 64 by going on your calculator. I tend to like to clear things out first and then type in, hit tangent. It says tan on the button. Tangent, it'll open up the parentheses. You're going to type 64, and then you're going to close the parentheses. Once you close the parentheses, you can say times 7, and it'll give you the final string of numbers, 14. Oh, and actually, I should have here approximately equal to. It's not going to be exactly now. 0.352, blah, 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 whatever. Doesn't really matter because we're going to round it to the 10th place. So we look here. Well, we're rounding to the 10th place with the 3 in it. We look here and we say, is that 5 or higher? Yes, we can say, yes, it is 5 or higher. So what happens to the 3? It rounds up to a 4. 14.4 is approximately equal to x. That's it. Okay, now we've got 16, 17, and 18. All right, here we go with these. And we're now saying, what do we got? What do we know? And so let's take a look at it. What do we got? We have, oops, sorry about that. We have, for this angle, the opposite and the hypotenuse. Okay, so what uses opposite and hypotenuse? Actually, let me insert that little slide that we've got with the information on it. Where did it go? Here it goes. And move it to the bottom. Opposite and hypotenuse is sine. So we're going to say the sine of 35 degrees is equal to the opposite, 10, over the hypotenuse, x. And something else is going on these problems. And I'm going to show you the quick trick right here. Okay. Something else that's going on in these problems is now that you're looking for the variable, and it's in the denominator. So the idea here is that you're going to have to do, if you're going to multiply the long way, multiplying both sides by x and then dividing by 10, watch what happens. It's a two-step thing. I'll show you the shortcut in a second. Okay. First, I'm going to write all of the steps out, multiply both sides by x. We say x times sine of 35 equals x times 10 over x. And that'll cancel the x out from that side, but then it doesn't quite read the way that we want it to because we didn't isolate x. What we did is we moved it off the denominator, and what we've got now is 10 equals x times sine of 35. And now how do we isolate x? Now what we need to do is we need to divide both sides by sine of 35. So we write x times sine of 35, each side divided by sine of 35. Okay, and then what you get is x equals 10 over sine of 35. Okay, now, hopefully you saw the math it, how I got from there to there. Now I'm going to get rid of everything in the middle, all of the calculations that I did to rewrite that, and I'm going to show you what the quick result is. Okay, the quick result here is that the sine of 35 and the x switched places. Now the x is over on the left-hand side and the sine of 35 is on the bottom. if you find that what you need to solve for, the thing that you're solving for, this, in this case, x, is on the bottom of the ratio, you can do the quick trick and switch them like that. Okay? You can do it as long as you get it right. But that's why it works, because if you do all of the complicated math just to switch it over, you saw how many steps it took for me to get to that. And that's like, wow, that's a lot of work. So if we say, okay, we're allowed to shortcut it, I'm going to give you the ability to shortcut it by saying, if you set it up the way that we do, and let me rewrite it again, sine of 35 equals opposite 10 over hypotenuse x. The very next step, what we're going to do is we're going to rewrite it with those switched. X equals, the 10 still stays on top, it's the sine of 35 that stays on the bottom. Okay? And how do you solve that? Okay, well, what you need to do on your calculator, get your calculator, clear it out, follow my steps. Wait for you for a second to get it. Okay, got it in your hand. Type 10. Then type divided by. Okay, now you're going to hit the sign button, and in the parentheses you'll type 35 and close that. What you should get is 17.4344679. Let me write that in. Oops. Oh, and I should have that be approximately equal to. And we're rounding this off. So let's take a look at it. We're rounding to the tenths place. Do we look here? Is this 5 or higher? No. So that does not go up to a 5. It goes up to it stays a 4. And we get x is approximately equal to 17.4. Now, I realize, just looking at the book, the answers, that it doesn't have the correct number. It says 17.0, and it actually works out to be 17.4. If you can figure out why the book is right and I'm wrong in thinking that it actually should be 17.4, I'd love to hear it. This is round to the nearest tenth. What I get as a calculation is 17.4. And so if your number is matching mine, but it's not matching the book, then I think that we're doing it right. If you also got 17.0, let me know what I've done wrong for that. Okay, anyhow. Moving on for this. Okay, so number 18, they give us both of the angles, and so you have to say, all right, which one am I going to do? Which one should I choose? And I'm just going to say, there's no particular reason why you have to choose one or the other, because you could write both sine or cosine like this. Notice that I say sine or cosine because it's using here, it's including the hypotenuse as part of the thing that we need to use, because that's what we're solving for. So it has to be on the bottom, one of the two that use hypotenuse, and those are sine and cosine. So I'm just going to pick 62. Okay, let's just say we did this one, and then we have the hypotenuse and the side that's adjacent to it. So if we're doing that, then we're going to say that we'll be using cosine. Cosine of 62 degrees is equal to the adjacent side, 50, over the hypotenuse of x. Okay? And notice this, we're going to do this the same thing that I told you about earlier, which is we're going to switch the position. And here, let me just write it here like this. These two things, the x and the cosine 62, will switch position. That's the quick trick for isolating the variable without going through all of the steps that will eventually get you there, but kind of a lot of work to write it all out. Okay. Now I'm going to say x is approximately equal to, and we're going to type this in on your calculator. You're going to type 50 divided by cosine 62, close that parentheses, it equals, and you get 106.50 something. Okay, 106.50. We really only need to, we don't even need to list the other 27234 digits. Because, why don't we need to list them? What we're really doing is we're rounding it to the nearest tenth place. So we round it to this place. We look one more. Is that 5 or higher? Nope, it's not 5 or higher. So we will keep that 5 a 5. And we get x is approximately equal to 106.5. Okay? And rounding this out, we're going to look at this one. And what do we have? Well, for that angle, we've got, well, the two legs, the opposite and the adjacent. We do not have the hypotenuse. And so we're going to be using tangent for this. So we will say tangent of 25 degrees equals opposite 10 over adjacent x. And again, if we're solving for, if the variable is on the bottom, we need to solve for it, isolate it. We can switch these two. What does this look like? It's going to look like these two switch, leaving you with x is equal to 10, still on top, over tangent of 25. Now that's on the bottom instead of x. Okay, so x is then approximately equal to, type it in the calculator, we will type 10 divided by tangent button, parentheses opens, we type 25 and close the parentheses, and we hit equals. What we get is approximately 21.4450 something. Those other numbers don't really, they're not particularly relevant to us because, sorry, the thing's glitching out a little bit. They're not relevant to us because what we're trying to do here is just round to the 10th place. And so we say if we're rounding here, we look here, is that 5 or higher? It's not. So all of the decimals following that initial 4 right here in the 10th place do not constitute more than half of another tenth. So we just say x is approximately equal to 21.4, and we call it good. Okay. Hopefully that was, I know it was like maybe an over explanation, but let me move all that over. I see what went on there. Sorry, I was trying to have that 9 appear there, but I couldn't do it because my controls were in the way. So all that to say, use sine, cosine, tangent, and the mnemonic device, the thing that helps you memorize it, is SOHCAHTOA, and then put the numbers in the right place and solve for the variable.